Miley Cyrus is covering Metallica, so we're talking all things Metallica. It's Last Words here on The Pit. Play the music!
Hello, welcome back to Last Words presented by The Pit. I am one of your co-hosts, Coyle from the band Bad Wolves and host of the X-Man podcast.
And I'm Katy Irizarry of Season of Mist and Loudwire.
And I'm Jordan Olds from 2 Minutes to Late Night.
And we also have a very special guest, Mr. Nate Garrett of Spirit Adrift. How are we doing, Nate?
Doing good, man. Glad to be back.
We love you. We actually had the great pleasure to review your record that came out not too long ago. And I can't really do the motions I was doing on here because it will get banned by YouTube. But I was like, really enjoying it. Just saying.
Dude, I listened to that review and I was extremely flattered, and I really appreciate everything you guys had to say. It means a lot.
All right. Well, Nate and Doc are going to get married by the end of this episode, which will be great. No, Nate, you put out a banger of an episode. The last time you were on here, we had to cut the episode short. So you're back, and we're going to get into some hot takes that we didn't get into in the last episode.
We're going to make up for lost hotness.
Yeah, we have we've got to make up for lost heat.
Lost words.
Lost words. There we go. Katy, well done.
Thank you.
We got to talk about Miley Cyrus doing a Metallica covers record. Are you guys excited about this?
Yes, I am so stoked for this. I really am. I enjoy Miley Cyrus. I think a lot of people, look, rock and roll, metal, it is a genre, but rock and roll is also an attitude. And I think Miley Cyrus is, by that definition, a rock star of this particular generation. She's done things like pissed people off at the VMAs and swung naked on a wrecking ball and did nude photo shoot. But she's also at the same time a positive role model. She's an animal rights activist. She's a very strong, independent woman. So there's just, I love her. And I also just think this is a great way to, once again, just open those floodgates and let everyone who was born after us, live in the legacy and discover Metallica.
I agree completely with everything that Kate said. I think the bottom line here is she's a really skilled musician. I'm a huge fan of her voice. Obviously, it's just objectively good. A real musician's mind. Obviously, she came from a lineage of some hardworking musicians in her family. She's got this kind of like X factor, unhinged, crazy sort of artistic freedom. She does whatever she wants. I think that's cool. If people in the metal community don't want to listen to a Miley Cyrus Metallica album, there's plenty of like cavernous death metal records played by boring nerds. There's not any shortage of that. So you can go listen to
Woo!
Ooh, spicy. Doc, where are you?
These are the people that are going to save rock and roll. It's not going to be the rock people. It's going to be Post Malone. It's going to be Machine Gun Kelly. We're a bunch of haters and elitists, so we're not going to do it. They got to put the, the little Rapunzel hair down to their young people to bring that, because that's the only way you can replenish is to get the young people in. So I think it's great. It shows that rock still matters to the people outside of it, and I think it's slowly but surely permeating. So I don't think there's any negative to it, unless it's just really bad, which I doubt. I just don't think you can. It's very difficult to improve a Metallica song.
Can I run with something you just said, Doc?
Sure.
Yeah, I look at our Spotify numbers. People like 16 to 22 don't listen to Spirit Adrift. They don't. And so you're exactly right when you're saying it's going to take something maybe from outside our little subculture to, for example, like Miley Cyrus covers Metallica. Some kids hear Metallica that wouldn't have normally. Maybe they fall in love with Metallica. Maybe they hear a band like Spirit Adrift or a band like Pallbearer or Eternal Champion, or they follow that line and they get more into real heavy metal type music.
This is something we actually kind of touched upon not too long ago when we had Ethan McCarthy of Primitive Man as a guest here with us. And, we were talking about how people get into music. So it's much different the way people are getting into music now. They're not really You know, it's not like they're getting it, their moms or dads or older brothers are passing it down to them. They're just directly plugged into pop culture and they're getting it that way. And in a lot of ways, some of us might have gotten it that way as well. You know, so I think this is just a great way to transcend and just keep the legacy of Metallica alive. And I think it's exciting to see Metallica now touch upon these younger generations because it shows you that metal really is forever. Like Manowar was right.
Let me put a cherry on top of this. It's almost statistically impossible that a Miley Cyrus album is going to be that much worse than the last few actual Metallica albums.
Yo, we about to be fighting up in here.
Let's go, dog. Let's go.
Doc, do you disagree? Do you think that are you a fan of modern Metallica?
Yes. First off, I want to talk about there's a war going on right now, okay, between real Metallica fans like me and fake Metallica fans who are just like, oh, I only like these records. Shut up. That's not how fandom works, all right? Fandom isn't, I'm a fan on Monday and I hate them on Tuesday. That's whack, all right? I'm a Knicks fan, all right? They lose every year, okay? And I think what people do is they filter modern things through the lens of not really understanding their biography. That when you heard something when you're 12, you are emotionally attached to it. And when you hear something that's pretty damn good, when you're 37, you're old and you're jaded and you're bitter, and then you didn't put the damn nostalgia filter on it, so you think it's not good, but it's still really good. The last two Metallica albums are incredible, okay? And you know what? I've seen them. I toured with them on Death Magnetic. New songs were slamming live. They played 6 new songs, going over like gangbusters, killing the game. And then the new album, Hardwired, is better than that. And I just think it's so difficult for any band to be like in their 50s, in their 60s, still putting out material that's great, and especially like that went on all these tangents and made Load and made Lulu and really, you know, with Saint Anger, to me, like lost the plot. And to get back to that level and make something that relevant, I just think it's, like I said, it's just these nostalgia glasses that you can't put on new things. So you think it's not good, but you just the game because you ain't a real fan. Boom!
I don't necessarily disagree with a lot of what you said there, Doc. And I saw them on the Death Magnetic tour twice. They were playing the 3 songs from that album that are good, that are worth playing. And I just want to say I love Metallica with all my. They're like musical family to me. Like I'm gonna love them no matter what they do. But that being said, I'm not gonna pity listen to their last 3 or 4 albums when Ride the Lightning exists or when Master Puppet. I'd rather just listen to that.
I think that this is coming into my hottest take is that I think the dudes that are like I'm that fan that Doc is talking about. I don't even know if that necessarily makes me a Metallica fan. Because the albums I like are first 4 of like Metallica albums. And then I think when you hear the Metallica albums that are written by just James, Kurt, and Lars, I think that's what the real Metallica is. And I'm not sure I like that. I'm not sure that those are the albums that I'm here for. And I think that that's fine because I think like Dave Mustaine like going off and creating Megadeth, that was the piece of Metallica that I really liked. And I think the other half of it was Cliff, and when Cliff passed away, then it's just the other 3. And I don't know. I think that for me, it's just those dudes. I think Death Magnetic and Hardwired are fine. They're like solid thrash metal albums, but they don't have the oomph of the earlier stuff when they had songs written by Dave and Cliff.
I agree. I'm more obviously I'm more so with what Nate and Jordan are saying, where I really only love Metallica up to a certain point, you know, and listen, I like Load, Reload. I'm not ashamed to admit that, but there's a certain point where, but let me say though, the point I want to make is about fandom, because I think when it comes to being a fan, it's not about what you like of the bands and picking and choosing. I think it's about loyalty and saying, well, you know what? I don't really love this album, but I'm still going to support this band. I'm still going to see them every time they come around. I'm still going to listen to the albums of theirs that I love religiously. I'm still going to wave their flag. I'm still going to cheer for them when they win. I don't have to love their records to still be a fan in that sense where, yeah, you know what? Pity listen. I love that, Nate. That is my new favorite term. I agree. That's how I feel. Death Magnetic. Oh my God, Saint Anger, Lulu. There are just so many travesties in that band's later discography. But at the same time, I will never, ever abandon Kill 'Em All or Ride the Lightning or Master of Puppets. I mean, a lot of these records, like I said, up until like, you know, early 2000s Metallica, I love. But yeah, I think it's okay to not necessarily appreciate what a band is doing anymore or like it, and still stand by them, because that's what a true fan is. Like, to be honest, that's how I felt about Slayer towards the end. I really would just go on their shows because it's like, oh, my friends are going to be there. I guess I'll go. I really, you know? So I feel like, yeah, I can't say I'm a Slayer fan because I absolutely turned my back on that band. But Metallica, I'm a fan because I will support that band and I want to see them win no matter how horrible their records are.
I just want to talk about this idea of, you can't make new old things, right? So just the fact that something is old and has stood the test of time gives it more credibility than something in the moment. Like we won't know. Like you know what I'll also put in this boat is like the new Star Wars movies, right? There's so much hype and people are so invested emotionally. You don't even know what they are now. You got to wait 30 years so that the emotional attachment has worn off and people who are more objective can come along and say, what even was that? Was it good? Was it mediocre? And I think it's the same thing about these Metallica albums. I think the narrative is Metallica fell off. So you get invested in that narrative that they've fallen off. And so you look at the records through the prism and guess what? It doesn't feel the same because guess what? It ain't old, it's new. And I'll put the Spit Out the Bone is one of the best Metallica songs they've ever written. Okay? That's just a fact. Moth into the Flame is one of the best Metallica songs written. Period. It just is. And I'm not, and because I can feel like I can detach myself. So I'm just saying you can say you don't like it, and I'm not denying that you don't like it, but I'm saying that having something like watching, a Spielberg movie watching E.T., like it has a quality of being of a time. It just is what it is, and it has that quality, and so you're going to perceive it differently.
I think there are two things against that. I think one is we're literally about to talk about a new old album on this episode. It's literally a band redoing their demo, and not to spoil that section, I think is weirdly one of the best thrash records I've ever heard.
Oh,
I agree. I agree.
Oh no, it's about to be ugly in here, dude.
We'll talk about it. Like when I re-listen to things, like my nostalgia lens, it kind of doesn't work anymore. Like I don't like a lot of things that I liked when I was a kid. The first album that came out that I remember when I was a Metallica fan was Saint Anger. And that was all the hype. Like I had just found I didn't like, that was the first new album that was in my like realm of being a metal fan. When I heard it, I knew that I didn't like it immediately. So even if there was like nostalgia attached to it, like I'm not taking that with me either way. You know what I'm saying?
I hear you, but what I'm saying is, here's how it is. There's clubs of cool, and the further you go in one direction, the more elitist you are. Here's the first club. People who are like, Ride the Lightning is the best album. That's the one club. Then you go to the next club.
There we go.
I only listen to the first 4 albums, right? That's club 2. Club 3 is I only listen to the first 5 albums, right? That's like less cool, right? Because you're like, oh, it's Black Album, And then after that, it's a free-for-all. But you know what's never cool to say? I love all Metallica. I love new Metallica. You're not cool. You're the guy who tucks his Metallica shirt into his damn khakis. No one wants to be that guy.
Doc, I got to burn your theory down real quick because there's good songs and there's bad songs. And
that's a subjective statement. That's a
right,
subjective statement.
To a certain degree it is. I think Martin Birch and Rick Rubin would probably argue with you there. Some Metallica albums have a few good songs on them. Some of them have 100% good songs. So I think that's where, and I like a lot of songs on Load. I like a couple songs on Reload. I think there's things even on Saint Anger that if they had been in maybe a less chaotic headspace would have made for really good songs. I know somebody like re-recorded it with different production.
Yeah.
And you can really hear like the potential in some of that. So I think the people you're talking about are maybe just people that are trying to be part of the metal subculture and they don't really care as much or know as much about.
I don't think they're trying. I think it's authentic. I'm just telling you where those categories are because I've met people from all of those.
Sure, yeah, those people are posers.
I'm not saying they're posers. They're people
Dave's dropping P-bombs.
I have.
Who's the posers? Who are the posers?
Anybody that values anything above how the music makes them feel, that's when you get.
What I'm saying is, I can say someone can say I only like the first 4 albums, and I can think where they're coming from, but I can't know. They just might only like the first 4 albums. I can't mind read and project why and the psychology behind it. I can presume, but I don't want to be presumptuous. I'm just saying.
I don't know. I like to presume that anyone who says that they don't get pumped when they see here, give me fuel, give me fire. Screw you, you're lying. You love
100%. Here's the thing. If I was a wrestler, I want to come out to fuel. But I'm not I'm not going to the ring to fake fight nobody. So that's just not what I'm looking for. And I think with the first 4 Metallica albums, I feel like I see where you're coming at. Doc, we talked about this on like a lot of episodes that I 100% agree that there is an elitism culture. And it's like, when someone gets brought into metal, there's just always a guy at the front going like, all right, here's what you like. And here's what you don't like. Here's what's not cool anymore.
Literally, when I was growing up and I went to the CD store and the guy that like sold me my first Black Sabbath CDs, turned me on to like Down and Pantera and all this stuff. When I tried to buy Load and Reload because I wanted to own every Metallica CD, he told me no. He told me no. He was like, no, you're not buying it.
We will not make money in the store.
I had that guy too, though. Like that's how I ended up in hardcore is like, I remember I bought Saint Anger and the guy was like, all right, I see you. But then he like gave me like a Ferret Records comp to like get me into newer stuff at the same time. So there is always that. I think that's there. I think with Metallica, it's hard. It's a hard argument to have because there is the whole fact that after the first 4 albums, they don't have their key songwriters anymore. At least.
What are you talking about?
I agree. You're leaving
Dave Mustaine
a wide opening
is credited on every single of the first 4 Metallica albums.
He's not.
First 3.
It's like a part. It's like there's a few songs like 4 Horsemen, and it's like a part here or there.
Well,
I don't know.
You can look at if you open the album, it has his name. Like he wrote like songs that are on.
I've been studying this exact topic for probably I'm not kidding, for like 5 years now. I've been obsessed with just how much of a role did Dave play in making Metallica what they were. Just how much of a role did Cliff play in making Metallica what they were? They've all admitted to the fact that Cliff showed them what guitar harmonies were.
Mm-hmm.
So, and I don't think anybody in Metallica has ever downplayed Cliff's role. I think that Dave's role has been downplayed, and I think it depends a lot on who you believe and to what degree you believe them. I think he has a lot more of an impact on Metallica's songwriting, and I'll even say Slayer's songwriting, because Carey was in Megadeth in '84, and then all of a sudden in '86 you got like Piece by Piece which he was not writing riffs like that before he was jamming with Mustaine. Could be coincidence. So I think Dave Mustaine is an MVP of Metallica, the unsung hero there, and the unsung hero of the thrash movement. And he'll tell you the same thing. You know,
of course Dave will.
Of course he will. He helped create Metallica. He helped create that style of riff writing and that style of playing. He helped possibly push Kerry King's writing in a certain way, a little more progressive, a little more angular, and he's responsible for Megadeth. That's 3 of the big 4 that one guy has his fingers in all of it.
But here's the difference. Metallica is muscular and groovy. Okay? Like a song like Harvester of Sorrow, Megadeth could never write.
I mean, when you look at the big 4, they're all thrash metal, but there's something a little different. You know, Slayer's got that evil edge to them. Anthrax has that very East Coast, a little more street, what kind of ended up being like the gateway to hardcore kind of edge to them. Metallica is, I guess, maybe more so the classic blueprint. And Megadeth is definitely different in that they structure their songs a little less traditionally. And I think, yes, where Metallica has more groove, Megadeth has more melody in a lot of different ways. And Megadeth also had, Dave Mustaine always had the advantage where he did not have the same band, and I think that shaped him in a lot of ways. I mean, we could sit and talk about what was better. It worked for him to have a rotating cast of amazing guitarists beside him for all of these albums and helped shape his sound, and I think even shaped him as a player. But ultimately, I think the big reason why we don't see Megadeth necessarily as big as we do Metallica doesn't have to do with lack of talent, with them not being as good musically. In some ways, I think maybe Dave Mustaine is better than Kirk Hammett or better than James Hetfield. But I think Metallica learned very quickly and very early on to become a business and to become professional, and were able to use that in addition to their legacy and their music and having the chops to back it up. Whereas I think as it wasn't until much, much later in Dave Mustaine's career that he really did start treating the band like a business. And I think that really stunts you as a band or as a musician. Yeah, you could have the chops. You could be an incredible player, write great songs, but you can hold yourself back if you aren't also thinking of everything outside of the creative aspects.
I agree 100% with everything you just said. But I want to add to that. Here's another thing that prevents Megadeth from being as big as Metallica, and I apologize if I hurt one of my heroes' feelings right now. The vocals.
Yeah, that's true. That's a great point. His vocals are absolutely hit or miss for people. They're very divisive.
Yeah, well, I love them, but then again, I also love the Muppets. So,
but I'll go another step beyond that. James Hetfield's vocals is what sets Metallica apart from every single other band in the thrash metal genre. He just has that voice that you understand every word. It's this combination between having a melody into it, but it's also aggressive. It's the great separator.
So wrap it up here. Yeah, Metallica is my first. That's everyone's first metal band is Metallica or Black Sabbath. Most people, I feel like my age, probably Metallica. Since I am like a metal comedian, I've spent just like years of my life on that band because it's just it's what people want. I need to come out and say right now that I do love that band. And I love all the dudes in it. Like Lars is a very eccentric, weird dude who buys paintings for no reason, but he's also he's one of the nicest dudes. That band is responsible for so many new bands getting huge. I like the platonic ideal of like how you should behave when you get famous as a famous metal band. And they still sound really good when they play. Like when we watched S&M 2, like James looks like Sam Elliott now. He still sounds like he did in 1991. It's unbelievable.
I love Metallica. I love Megadeth. I love both of them for different reasons. I can't necessarily say that I love one more than the other because, like I said, there's just totally different reasons, different albums I love, different songs I love. It's hard to quantify. But what I can say for certain is that I do not like anything they've put out in the past 10 years.
You're not wrong. You're not wrong. No matter,
I like the idea of it.
listen, though, no matter what they do, if you're in this game, you owe them a debt of gratitude forever, period. They changed it. They're, as important as Black Sabbath is, I think Metallica is probably the most important metal band ever because they just took the popularity to a different degree. They opened up the possibility of an album like Far Beyond Driven debuting at number 1. That wouldn't have happened without the Black Album kicking that door in.
Listen, if they do something that's not good, I'm not going to listen to it. There are Metallica albums I don't listen to. There are Megadeth albums I don't listen to, but I don't get into the who did what, who's better. It's like, what do you like, chocolate or peanut butter? It's like, well, man, I'm just going to get a Reese's, man, and get it all together. What's the problem? Why are we fighting here? So let's just keep it going. Celebrate the catalog. As long as these bands are active, still putting out records, still playing shows, we are all the better for it.
Well, that does it for us here at Last Words on the Pit. Nate, tell the people where they can find Spirit Adrift and you.
SpiritAdrift.com. That's it. Everything you need's there. The social media is getting harder and harder to find any sort of practical use for it. So just go to our website, SpiritAdrift.com. We put a record out, whatever. I don't even know what month it is. We put a record out sometime in the distant past. So go check that out too.
It's real good. We love it. Katy, where can the people find you on the computer or their phone or whatever?
You could find me at Merciful Kate on Twitter and Instagram.
That does it for us here at Last Words on the Pit. If you want to hear Nate's takes on this week's albums, check out our podcast. Seriously, do it. He must have just taken them out of the oven because they hot. Too hot. Available on all podcasting platforms. Follow us on all social media platforms at We Are The Pit. We are here every Thursday talking about heavy metal music for you.